Greetings and welcome to Dinner for Wolf. We've wandered out of the wasteland, our bellies full of kangaroo tail and weird red dust to bring you yet another tasty pod. I am Gray Meat from the Bullet Farm, and I am joined by my two co-hosts,
Lord Blumungus,
Redis Eredis.
And we've got a good one for you today. Today we are going to be talking about The Road Warrior, also known as Mad Max 2, starring Mel Gibson and directed by George Miller. This was, in America at least, Mel Gibson's breakout movie, despite it being a sequel, because the first one was never released in America on its original run. And you may remember George Miller from his other post-apocalyptic tales, such as Babe, Pig in the City, and Happy Feet. To kick things off today, we're going to go take care of our speed run and walk us through, at a quick pace, the plot of this movie, and then we're going to get into our typical likes, dislikes, and present moral of the story. So, in an undetermined time since World War III ravaged our society, supplies, and grammar, a lone warrior emerges from the blasted-out Australian outback, Max Rockatansky, the Road Warrior. You may remember him from a few years prior when he worked at the most rundown police precinct in Australia and his wife and kid were run over by the extras from a kinky community theater production of The Outsiders, or you may not remember him at all and learn his story through an early movie exposition dump, depending on your distribution region in 1981. Either way, our guy Max runs afoul of this world's version of the Boz while trying to steal gas from an old semi-truck. Max runs into a seemingly functional gyrocopter with a snake sitting on it, none of which he finds suspicious at all. He's ambushed by a 6'6" subterranean weirdo, but overpowers him, and the weirdo tells him about a working refinery nearby. They stake out the refinery and learn that apparently the Boz's boss, Lord Humongous, and his cronies harass the Fremen that live at the refinery on a daily basis. Rocksteady and gyrocopter guy sit and watch a pretty explicit rape-murder scene from their creeper-peeper spyglasses and only intervene when the boyfriend is about to get killed. Max uses the injured boyfriend as poker chip to get into the refinery to try to get a full tank of gas from the all-white wearing cultists led by their charismatic leader Papagino, but then the leather baddies show up to deliver their daily dose of mayhem and need to be fought off. Poker Chip dies along the way, and the refinery crew keep Max's car, so he offers to bring the semi-truck to them if they'll give him back his ride with a full tank, a wash, and a little tree to hang on the dash. They love this idea, because the crew of white linen and lacrosse helmet-wearing weirdos that also happen to own a pet feral kid with a metal boomerang and Mel Gibson's future haircut aren't having fun with their daily marauder tea parties and just want to haul enough fuel with them to caravan to Australia's Palm Beach. Max gets the semi-truck and brings it to his new friends. They beg him to stay, but he rolls out like Clint Eastwood in every Clint Eastwood movie with a horse. Unsurprisingly, Max gets ambushed, but his car blowing up scares everyone off, and the gyrocopter guy flies him back to the refinery for some R&R in a burned-out ambulance. Max Rock'em Sock'em Robots has a change of heart and volunteers to drive the semi-truck to paradise with the Branch Davidians, and the plan being to split up so that the people or the gas gets destroyed instead of both, despite the fact that not having both makes the plan pointless. The cacophonous action and then consumes the next 25 minutes, including the refinery blowing up, every person on the oil rig other than Max and the feral kid getting killed, the leader of the white linen cult dying, Max encouraging a kid to crawl in the hood of a moving truck, Humongous getting pulverized, and the tanker crashing. But surprise, the tanker was full of sand. The gas was actually in barrels being carted off by the rest of the cult. The marauders just leave because the plot demands it. Gyro Guy inexplicably becomes the new cult leader. Max wanders off into the outback to prepare for the next sequel, and the final reveal is that the exposition voice is the voice of the non-verbal feral kid who apparently found a school somewhere along the way. Credits.
In those 3 minutes, I relived an entire lifetime in the apocalypse.
in those 3 minutes, I contemplated the world in which George Miller directed Happy Feet and Babe and Pig in the City. Stand up with a straight face. You have got to be kidding me. I have a whole other thing.
He was pulled off of a lot of projects.
Oh my god!
But, those are the projects that actually made it. Like he was supposed to direct Contact. Like
yep.
he was slated to like direct a bunch of things because of of the stuff he's done on the Mad Max series.
Oh, I'm gonna blow your mind a little further. Not only did he direct Babe, Pig in the City, Happy Feet, and Happy Feet 2, he also wrote them and produced them.
He wrote them.
He's
a doctor.
Those are passion projects.
Yeah, he's like a pediatrician or something, or he's some sort of just like a normal doctor guy, or who just has fantasies of talking barnyard animals and apocalyptic wastelands.
All right, screw the movie. Can we just talk about George Miller for
very complicated man?
It's it reminds me of was it Robert Rodriguez who did all like the Desperado movies, and
yeah,
then
and then
Kids.
the Spy Kids. He's just like, I
yeah.
love kid movies. That like literally that was one of his interviews. Was like, when are you gonna do another Desperado? He's like, nah, I like Shot Girl and the Lava Boy. that's my go-to right now.
God. But yeah, no, this was actually my first time sitting and watching the movie through. Like similar to Gray and Beastmaster review back. Like I had seen a lot of it, bits and pieces. I don't know if it was like on TV or like friends' houses or whatever. Like I recognized about like 30 minutes of movie. And then the cultural reference thing. I was put on alert because as listeners may know, any movie in which a dog dies, spoiler alert, dog dies, although you don't see it, thankfully. So that's probably why I haven't sat down and watched it at this point, because I was aware of that.
But, there's a
But
good thing
yeah,
that
I
comes
didn't know
out
it
of
was the
this.
second movie. I didn't know it was the second movie until I'm like, this is the second movie? Good Lord.
Yeah.
Which,
It's
anyway.
important. You missed some important details. But
So
it's
as-
okay about the dog because, they made it like an animated series about it, right?
Wait,
you
what?
hear about this?
No, I didn't know about this one.
Yeah. Okay. It's in Australia. Basically, the dog has a family. There's two daughters and like a wife. It's called Bluey, I think. Right. That's.
Yep, that's it.
You watch it with
Bluey.
your kid, right?
Yeah. Australian kettle dog, Bluey.
God.
He's got PTSD, but he's doing okay.
There's some flashbacks of those times, but he survives and he raises a family.
Actually, one thing I wanted to talk about before my mind got blown by George Miller directing Happy Feet, sweet Jesus. Anyway, is the dog apparently the gyrocopter captain, whatever gyro captain I think they call him. Like the dog growls at him for like a third of the movie, right? And apparently the dog was very friendly in general and loved Bruce Spence, the guy who played gyro captain. So they had to do things like have him play with a scarf and then like cut back to that and like the dog was like almost physically unable to growl and bark because it loved this man so much. And apparently it was it's going to be put down it was apparently half dingo and half dog. I don't know if that's true or not. And it was going to be put down, and George Miller
I think that's just Australian racism. Just any dog is a half dingo.
he threw a rock, the dog brought it back, dropped at his feet. He's like, "Oh, this dog likes me, we'll take him." And then the site I was looking at said, quote, later found out that the dog did that with literally every person. But
That con artist.
So this movie is very Australian. So they call it like Ausploitation filmography. And the weird part about like this movie and this setting is kind of the time frame and how things kind of work. Because there's certain scenes where like there's an arrow and a kangaroo that's just lying on the street. But like the whole apocalypse and this whole like kind of destruction of society happens within like 5 years. Like literally like because looking at the time, I'm like, oh, it's probably like a spin-off or just kind of like a reimagining. No, George Miller says, yeah, all this stuff happens in like the mid 90s. Like what is happening in Thunderdome happens in like early 2000s. So this is like they go ballistic. All right, in a few years, and it's either like, oh, okay, like that's just humanity for you, or it's just like an indication that this is Australia, pretty much. Like if anything goes wrong, they won't know how to say gasoline anymore. They won't, everything's gone. People who like literally grew up with like just like Saved by the Bell. All right, as soon as they like start eating each other, as soon as the lights go off.
And that's what kills me. It's like these guys.
It was a prison colony. Just putting it out there.
These guys in like football pads and tire armor, like actually I don't know if there's any tire armor in this movie. I think that's all Thunderdome where they wear tires for armor.
I think you're right.
They wear lacrosse stuff or like
there's a lot of like leather and borderline and not so borderline BDSM gear, but yeah, there's not tire armor.
Yeah, it's BDSM and sports gear, but like these people used to be like stockbrokers and cops and like you watch this movie and it seems like this is how it's been for these people's entire lives, and then like Red said, like you're like, wait, it's been 5 years? What?
Yeah, dude. Okay, there's like an interview with George Miller, who's like Papagino. whatever his name
Cappuccino.
is, right? They wanted like a storyline where he was an oil exec, and like he retreated with all of his followers and just like decided to like. So he was like literally like at a, like business lunches, you know, with this like giant like cell phone, and then he was just like, as soon as like the lights turn off, he's just like, all right, put on like the white robes. It's like,
I mean,
it's all about the gasoline now.
I do think there's something to the fact that like we're polite to each other because we're not like competing for food, right? But
Yeah, of course, I would like when the lights go off, I would eat you, but like I would still remember what things are called.
Right. I don't think I'd go for the ceremony. For
Well,
lack of a better.
I think it's like I said in my speed run. Like, how did this war destroy grammar?
Yeah, exactly. Just like they just forget. Like and just like this feral kid. He's just like,
yeah. How does no one teach a kid to not grunt?
Okay, big question about the feral kid. That kid lives with them, and no one teaches him to talk.
No, and it's not like they hate him or anything. They like he's like a part of the group. He's like the I think
they take care of him, but like they treat him like a pet, not a person.
Yeah. It was lighthearted Chuck Forever when he cut a guy's hands off like little sausages or fingers. It was
just
great.
Like roam around, just like throwing a metal boomerang at people. You're just like, oh, he's the little feral kid again.
Like, oh yeah, that's feral kid. Don't worry about him.
They don't even call him by name. He doesn't have a name, right? Yeah, he's just in the credits.
Caveman lawyer. That's a kid. It's just frozen caveman lawyer.
Yeah, I mean, oh geez, the SNL skit. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
I know. Here's and this says a lot about me and just the things that I do and don't obsess about. Here's the thing. I don't know what kind of asphalt they have in Australia, but it's good because like you need to maintain highway asphalt. You need to maintain roadways, and there are like really heavy duty armored chains everywhere, and there's not a pothole in sight.
It's very nice.
In this post-apocalyptia, and I get that it's only been like 10 years, but
only 5 years.
Okay, but I don't know, man. That is some smooth. Like the paint's still fun. I don't know.
My memory is like a little different of this movie. When I first saw it, I was just like, "Wow, the color correction's not there." It's like it's a normal, like like Fury Road is very like ketone, like to very brown and like it's very like I want to like refer to like 2000s modern video game bloom pretty much for that one. This one is just a normal scene. Like there's blue skies, there's bushes, there's like agriculture, there's animals running around. It rains, it's like it's just like a normal kind of place. Just in Australia, that's gone ballistic. That's it, So there's
sorry, go ahead.
There's been a nuclear war, okay? Like you see like the clips happening, like it's a nuclear explosion. I think the nuclear war happens like literally right after Mad Max 1, just like at the end of like
I think because in Mad Max 1 he's still a cop, he has a family, but society is falling apart, and I think maybe that's the thing that's weird about this is we always think about these post-apocalyptic movies as being like nuclear war or World War III or whatever was the impetus for society falling apart.
Yeah.
I think in this world, it's the other way around. Society was already falling apart, and then the war was the final straw.
Right.
As opposed to like we always think of the war as the catalyst for everything, but like this place sucked before the war.
Yeah, the war was
in the first movie
extending, and it's strange because like the opening credits when they like kind of where Australian Gandalf is like kind of talking about like all like the before times and whatnot. Like they're using clips from like World War II, you know. So it's like I think it's like a parallel universe, like a parallel like an alternative reality, like when this is happening. So like something happens, like things are bad and they get worse and nobody like fixes things. And so it's just like kind of running parallel. It's not like it's not our Earth pretty much,
Right.
Yeah. No, and yeah, I think that's all true. And like it's really hard to remember that again, this is the whole thing. Like everyone's a little too feral. Like everyone is like 20% too feral. But
did they have this scene, like the introduction scene where like they talk about, because I knew they had the introduction where they talk about the before times or whatnot, but like, did they actually refer to like the first Mad Max in like the original cut of the movie, or did they add that?
Are you talking about let me find out. I'm trying to remember.
Because there's like clips, and then they like literally recap all of Mad Max 1 in like
Yeah, I
like
think that was always there.
Okay, because that might have been confusing. Because like literally when it came out in theaters, right? Nobody had ever seen the first Mad Max. They had to call it the Road Warrior because there's no like
right in America. Yeah.
So they're just like, yeah, this is a story of and they don't even call him his last name. Like only like 2 people refer to him as Max, and like he doesn't even refer to himself as Max. He's just like.
Apparently, he only has 16 lines in this entire movie.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Not sure I believe, but it's not a lot.
He in this movie, he is as stoic as Schwarzenegger in Conan.
Yeah.
Like I'm not sure which one has the lead has more or has less lines between those 2 movies. I really don't know. And I didn't remember him being that quiet from my previous viewings. In this one.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, in the first one, no, in the first one he talks a lot. I mean,
yeah.
I don't remember from my previous memory of this movie of him being this quiet.
Right.
That was a surprise on this watch. I was like, man, he just never talks.
I think he's I don't remember, but I think he's more more talkative in Thunderdome.
Yeah,
he's a lot more talkative in Thunderdome. He's a lot.
Yeah,
it's funny that this is Mel Gibson's like big break movie because like he just
he's
again
good.
Same with Schwarzenegger. Oh, he's very good. I enjoyed the movie and but again like Schwarzenegger, it's like Ray said, it's not like he talks a lot in Conan. It's just it's funny looking back at like. You know what those movies are when you watch them, and you know what their careers are, but they don't seem to mesh together in that way.
Yeah,
but like how is this what kicked off that?
Right, exactly.
I think for the most part, like he's still a starting kind of. He's beginning his acting career, right? And so like he takes a lot of direction, and like he's pretty like malleable. But when Thunderdome comes out, it's like what 10 years like. After literally 10 years after.
Yeah, it's a little while after.
Because he's great and like he's got his Lethal Weapon hair.
Yep.
And so like
that
he probably has
mullet.
more, but he's just like, hey, like I want more characterization of like my Mac character, which is not great. That's why probably Thunderdome's not probably the weaker of like the set.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the first one is, I don't know, but I think the Thunderdome is probably the weaker of the set. But we go back to like this kind of stoic, like crazy Mad Max during Fury Road, and that is a great movie. That is like
Fear. The whole time I was watching this, I just kept thinking about how Hardy and Miller are in for Fury Road were channeling Road Warrior the whole time because there is very little connective tissue between Thunderdome and Fury Road, and the characterization is more of that quiet, stoic, kind of crazy. There's a tanker chase that takes up a bulk of the movie. There is people strapped to the front of vehicles. Yeah. It's almost like they ignored the Thunderdome ever happened, and they made a sequel to Road Warrior.
I had a similar. My observation of this whole thing is that this is what. Fury Road was him remaking this now that he has money and like filmmaking techniques. Because like I enjoy this, but like this movie, and some of this is just time period. Like this is like 81 or late 70. Like
81 came out.
Camera technology was right, but some of it is also that it's just not a very refined shot movie. Like,
and I think he
And I think it's on purpose, but I think it's also a budget thing. Yeah.
I think like the storyline, like he wanted to build up more characters because there's glimpses of characters like in the survivors, right? And they just die. they just get arrowed instantly.
Yeah.
But in Fury Road, you could see like kind of Furiosa's prototype in that. You can see a lot of these like beginnings in Road Warrior. And literally at the end of the movie, it was like. I was just like, oh man, it's still good. Like I was, still very good.
I still good. I'll save it for when we go into what's not so good. I have a thing with the ending of the movie. But yeah, no, I enjoyed the movie. It's good. It's one of those things where, and I remember Gray, you were telling this to me about I'd also never sat and watched all of Enter the Dragon until college when we watched that, and you're like, it's gonna look dated and a little weird, but just remember, it's the movie that. It'll look stereotypical. It's the movie that everything copied. So remember that when you watch it. And like that's an important thing to remember here too. Where it's not refined and yes it's this and it looks a little rough and it is a little rough. But the storytelling is good. It's a lot of visual storytelling. Again, he doesn't have that many lines in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, the comp with Enter the Dragon is a good one because that's totally right. That a lot of the things that feel like tropes or cliche in this didn't because this is the progenitor.
Yeah.
Right.
And I like
You
to
know?
talk about kind of like how impactful this film is in like current media. Like if you think about like apocalyptic kind of settings, like all of post Waterworld,
Mhm.
Kevin Costner.
Kevin Costner, yeah, all Kevin Costner's like post-apocalyptic.
Oh, the
movies.
Postman and like
the Postman.
all
He's
the,
done like
yeah,
4 of them. They all smack of like kind of this.
Well, and
type of
James
film.
Cameron has said that like a lot of the Terminator character in those movies is based off of Mel Gibson in this and what things that you want to. The entire Fallout game series, I feel like, is, is based after this. Yeah.
Like if you're thinking about football pads, tires for armor, spikes sticking out of things, leather daddies that are in the desert, you're thinking about Mad Max.
Right.
And that is the image that many people have for post-apocalyptic.
Yeah. Like the Raiders in general, right? Like Marauders, Raiders. Like if you say those words, like the image that you have in your mind is Mad Max type characters. Like even like the Raider team, like you see, you go to one of those games, it's a Mad Max cosplay.
For the love of God, I still watch this up, but I was big into wrestling as a kid, and there was a tag team called the Road Warriors that wore football pads with spikes on them.
And had mohawks.
And had mohawks. Like, it's just straight up like this. Yeah.
Like stuff that is like unintentional. Like, nobody evolves into that, right? Like, you never just like, oh man, it's desperate times. I want my butt cheeks showing all the time. That's not a thing that like is like a natural progression. But now it is. When we think about it, we're just like, chaps.
Right.
Yep.
Right, no, that's a good way. We forget that it's hard to remember that it's ridiculous because it's so like seminal in like, that's what happens in the apocalypse. And everyone goes, you're right.
And if anybody wants like a really funny adaptation or just like inspiration, Fist of the North Star.
Oh my God.
Like,
remember, if you touch somebody in the right place, they explode.
It's basically just Kung Fu Mad Max, just like.
Yep. The guy even looks like Mel Gibson.
Yeah, exactly.
He really does.
Exactly like him.
He looks like Mel Gibson if he were just injected, if his steroids had steroids. But yes, he does look like Mel Gibson.
Can we talk about Lord Humongous for a minute?
Oh yeah.
Yes, we can. Can we talk about the name Lord Humongous for
my man?
That big. But anyway, no.
Right. He's just the biggest guy in this like general area of the desert. Like, okay, so Lord Humongous, couple points. I guess we could file this under things that don't work, but his vocal work is clearly dubbed in after the fact.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it also looks like the physical actor who they had doing the movement for him wasn't given the lines.
Exactly.
Like of what to say in the moment because it never looks like that's what he's saying.
No.
Like
his
at one
voice
point,
is
never
so
match.
Off and strange. It's
like
the hand gestures and the body position.
I'm thinking the body. Yeah, exactly. So at one point he's giving a speech and there's like he's delivering this speech vocally, and the arms are just moving and like the pointing. It never matches up with the words at all, and it just like
Nito Mussolini, but he was giving this like, it's like,
I love that scene. Like when he first arrives and he gives his speech out to like the Wastelanders to surrender, right?
Yep.
And he's like, listen, like, we could have peace, like we don't have to murder you, and like you could just like give us the gasoline, and then everyone around him is just like standing him up, like Toadie's like running around, just like, hey, check it out, like this guy, and then like the two like the two like leather bondage brothers are just like just like running around and like doing stuff, and he's just like, listen, hey, stop it, hold on, like I'm trying to talk right here.
The only
he has to choke one of them, so like he's quiet for a little bit. He's just like, I'm trying to say something.
He's like a kindergarten teacher.
Yeah, it's like he's the big boss, but everyone just like jumps all over him, just be like, yeah, let's kill him, or just like
it's one step. The only thing that would have made it more ridiculous if somebody was like actively being murdered in the background. Like, I said not killing. I said no killing.
Like he's a funny character. Like he's like imposing and whatnot, but like he's not like in Morton Joe or like any like the like where's like he's like a terrifying guy. He's just a random giant dude, and just like he's surrounded by like his dumb friends that are just like all over.
And as Gray was saying before Gray, I'll ask you to go. He very, very bad, very precise burns that like left the rest of his body completely unaffected. But he's got the Jason. He doesn't have the face mask. He has the Jason Voorhees back of the head too. Like it's Anyway, go ahead.
So this is a question I wanted to ask you guys. You could just cut everything he said before this.
Okay. Yeah.
You knew I wanted to ask this question and decided to steal the moment anyway.
I wanted to bring it back. I didn't know if you were going to bring it up or not. Anyway,
you're fine. So I had a question for you guys regarding Lord Humongous here, and they do this conspicuous shot of the back of him, so you could see. So he has this leather thing that goes from like covers his traps in his neck straight up to his hockey mask, and then behind it's just straps and it's open air. It's not leather there, and you could see two things. One, he has no ears.
Okay.
So like he has burns, like his ears are like melted off, and he just has like just a smooth like a head with holes.
Yeah.
And then he's like his whole head is all like scarred and veiny and pulsating, right?
Yeah.
So because of the leather neck thing and the mask, we can assume that his face and his neck are also all scarred and messed up.
Right. Yeah.
Like what on earth accident melts your whole head and neck and nothing else? It's like he was like dipped in something by his ankles.
When they warn you to be careful with popcorn after microwaving it, they are serious.
Like my theory is that he was like looking like when the bombs went off, he just looked out the window like, what the hell is, and then got a blast of whatever, and then ducked back in and shut the window. I don't know. I got nothing.
In another life, was he a butcher or a welder or was he an X-ray technician?
Okay, yeah.
Ooh,
was he an X-ray technician?
He had the vest on when
he had his leather suit on because he was giving someone an X-ray.
Man. He was a dentist and he just dove into a pile of those lead aprons, but he couldn't get one over his face in time.
And just from the neck up.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, so he is like the one of the the first like mutants kind of like in Mad Max, you know, and like in Fury Road, there's tons of those, like a bunch of like inbred radiation.
And in Thunderdome, like good lord,
there's like Master and Blaster and like they're giant stuff. My question is just like, how do they get so big in the apocalypse, right? Like there is very little. I'm guessing there's very little protein powder, unless like.
I mean, we saw that, like,
dude. No. Humongous for sure eats people.
Okay.
No, he does. He does.
That's the only way. Like you gotta eat people to get big. That in the apocalypse.
Dude, there's a post-apocalyptic movie that came out a couple years ago. I wish I could remember the name of it. Jason Momoa is in it as like one of the bad guys in this crew, and it's like this like post-apocalyptic world where there's still like this desert is the prison essentially, and like if you get condemned from society, you just get thrown out into the desert.
Yeah.
And like there's a group of like meathead cannibals that just catch other prisoners and use them for protein.
But they work out too.
And they
like,
work out. That's it.
Okay.
They're jacked. Like they work out all day and they catch other
I want to watch this movie.
Other criminals and eat them.
All right, you gotta tell me the title of this movie.
I'll look it up for you after. And Jason Momoa is a cannibal meathead.
That sounds like a fever dream that we thought of.
Good lord! Oh, so I have a question. I have a question for you guys, and this is bordering into like what doesn't work, which we probably get to anyway. Why did they fill the tanker with sand? I know it's a diversion. That's not my question. I know they want to be a diversion. Why did they need to fill the tanker with anything for it to be a diversion? So it drives slower? So it looks like why did they fill it with sand?
I've been thinking about this as well. I was also thinking about this question, and I do have one thought, but the only thing
I know with shovels for like a day that took.
Also, no one knew. Max had no idea. I mean, maybe they did it while he was like in the ambulance recovering. Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, no. The problem I have, or the only solution I can come up with is that if the tanker was empty and you're driving across that like blasted out landscape, that tanker part is going to bounce.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
and
they're heavy.
and yeah, it's going to bounce. And
Okay.
that's something that in theory the marauders that Humongous and his crew could notice and be like, what the hell, that thing's empty. It's a distraction. But
That's what I figured.
that I'm like real tinfoil hat on this one. Like I understand that the real answer is no one thought about this.
He does it 12 hours to.
Yeah, like when I first saw it, I'm like, oh, that's clever. Wait, what is it? Like the diversion's clever.
Right.
I knew he was going to disconnect.
Yep.
You saw his thing was just like frozen.
He's frozen for a while.
Like the death glare is like.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, yeah, he's got so little time. He's got so little time left.
Yep, I knew it.
I knew he was like, I tell him to wire his connection. Know he's on Wi-Fi. There's no way he's not on Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm. Guaranteed he's on Wi-Fi right now.
My God.
He does it every time. It's always something with this guy.
And we were on a good flow too. I had like the next funny point that I was gonna make about that, and now it's. I'm gonna keep this in. I'm gonna keep this in just so he remembers to wire his connection.
Yeah, but that's only going to work if he actually listens.
I know that only works if he actually listens to the podcast, which he never does.
Let's see. We'll leave it. We'll set the trap.
Sorry, dudes. The boomy boomers went off, and now I know that you're trapping me. So what?
Do what now?
What'd you say?
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, Discord just crashed. Sorry. Anyway, where were we?
Are you on Wi-Fi?
Yes, I am.
I knew it. I knew you were on Wi-Fi.
I forgot.
All right, back to the original point. Okay, use the Santa thing. Okay, there's a small scene where, like, when they're doing the planning, he has a little hourglass to show that, like, he's thinking about filling the thing with sand. So I think it's just George Romero, like, really, like, in love with, like, the reveal of what's in the tanker. There's, like, always something, like, crazy.
Sorry, now I'm picturing George Romero directing this movie, and it's amazing, because I want zombies to be everywhere. And
wish, right?
Like, yeah.
So, like, I think like the symbolism for the sand itself is like important to him. I think, like whether it's time, whether it's like the hope that was supposed to be in there is like in dust, really. Yeah. And just like how in Fury Road, like when he opens the tanker, it's full of like mother's milk, which is like it's a huge kind of like. We won't talk too much about Fury Road because Fury Road is great. It's a great movie, and I would spend an entire podcast.
Yeah, we'll do a Fury Road pod eventually. Yeah.
But there's a specific reason why there's like that substance in the tanker of Fury Road. Anyways,
I get it from the filmmaking perspective. I don't get it from like the characters in the movie perspective.
But nothing makes sense, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that's fair.
Like everything dissolves in like 5 years, and just like there's weird, just like I won't even talk about that. I'll save that for later. But anyways, all practical effects. Okay, let's talk about things that just work really well. There's a ton of stuff that work really well. Okay, everything blows up, and everything that blows up is real. Like stuntmen get really hurt, and that's not a good thing. But it shows you like that they're Australian and they do not care about safety regulations.
No,
it's like when I watched. Went back and watched Last Crusade, Indiana Jones, after having watched the new terrible one, and realized that, like, when they're in a boat getting chopped up by a propeller, they put two stuntmen in a boat and chopped it up with propeller, and you can tell. That's right. And it's the same thing going on here. Like,
yeah.
Yep.
And the casting is so strange. Like, this movie has like the weirdest casting ever. Like, the copter pilot, like, he is such a great character. But like he has to like literally when he's in the scene, he has to literally like bow down to like hunker down. Otherwise, he's so awkwardly tall. He's like literally like a foot and a half taller than Mel Gibson. And I thought Mel Gibson was like a relatively tall guy, but like, how is like 6'6", right?
I need to look this.
This guy's the guy is 6'6". Yeah,
Bruce so Mel Gibson has to be like 5'10" or something like that. Like because he's a good like when he's standing up, he's like a tall guy.
Yeah, Mel Gibson is 5'10".
5'10", okay.
Yep.
All right. That makes sense.
Yeah, Mel Gibson's 5'10", and this guy's 6'6". And yeah, so he's like stooped over like all
yeah, like every time he's talking, he's like
So
But he's
let's
so
talk
good.
about real quick.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Bruce Spence. Have you looked at this guy's IMDb?
No.
Bruce Spence is in Mad Max, Star Wars, The Matrix, and Lord of the Rings.
Good Lord.
Okay. In Lord of the Rings, is he the mouth?
Yep, Mouth of Sauron.
Oh, I knew
Yep.
it. I knew it. I knew that
Yep.
face. I was just like, I've seen that face before.
Yep.
Okay.
He's that. He's in The Matrix Reloaded as the Train Man.
Oh, he is. Yeah, you're right.
Yep. And then he's in Star Wars. This is one I don't remember of him.
Uh-huh.
He's in Star Wars Episode 3 as like some random alien ambassador or whatever,
Okay.
something.
He was probably costumed up for that one.
Yeah, he's real. He's costumed up and so, but he's in like all of those franchises.
Yeah. So the next part that I want to talk about that was like my favorite part of this movie is the gun dog scene where like he puts a shotgun, like he mounts it up and then gives the dog the trigger like with the bone. Is just like so the dog knows how to shoot people with like
Yep.
that scene had me cracking up.
Just like yep. I mean, is that more or less ridiculous than like Feral Boy climb onto the?
I didn't say it was ridiculous. I said it was awesome.
Well, fair. But I'm asking if that's true. But yeah, where he teaches a dog how to shoot ammo that he'll send a feral boy out onto a hood of a 60-mile-an-hour driving.
Animals are super well trained. Like the copter guy has like a snake security system.
Yeah.
And when he says the line, like he's like, "Give me that snake! I trade it. I'm gonna eat it." Like, I laughed. I was just like, "Okay, that's good. That's a good line."
I prefer to think that was ad lib because you can hear him like it sounds like he's cracking up because like the dog is trying to play with him and the snake. And he's like, "Go away!" But like,
it's a great line.
Then later he uses another snake as a weapon.
Yeah, he's got a lot of snakes, dude.
Yes.
Like
he drops it like airdrops a snake onto somebody.
Yeah.
In the final chase.
It's a different snake because the first snake got killed by like
he ate that one.
So he had a new snake. Like
like this also has a healthy snake ratio to Conan. Like the amount of lines per main character and the amount of snakes are very similar to the movies.
Yeah, Copter Pilot is definitely like up there as like does he return in Thunderdome?
I don't think so. I think
that actor does as somebody else, but I don't think the character does.
Because I saw the IMDb page like for him, and he had like Thunderdome was like.
Yeah, the actor played. I have to look back, but the actor was in it, but as somebody.
I mean,
else,
they do that. Like, I think like in Morton Joe is actually an actor in.
He's Toe Cutter, I think, from Mad Max 1.
Is he okay?
In Morton Joe.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the whole. Yeah, well, and back to the thing too, like Lord Humongous, I didn't find to be like he was big, but like I don't know that he's so big. I call him Lord Humongous, right? Like,
well, I mean, like again, this is for 5 years. Everyone has used up all the steroids. There are no protein sources left.
It's just
point,
like,
he's just like normal sized. He's just normal sized, and everyone else. Is
like
charging.
It's like in the 80s, right? Like nobody was gigantic until like Arnold Schwarzenegger came around, and like
and even Arnold in Conan, he's not giant. In Conan the Destroyer, he's giant. In Conan, he's like cut, like
a normal guy.
Yeah.
So, what other things work? I mean, in all, like the movie just works in general. Like, just like it's a
just
the
movie. Little touches of like you can see how they refer to things like. Little things are done well that makes it outside of the whole like setting not making sense. Like when they say open the gate and the gate is just a bus that they drive backwards, right? To get it, like call it a gate because we're using it as a gate. Like you can the visual storytelling of like you can actually in the way they've built up a town, you can actually sort of envision how that town came together. Not in 5 years. That's the part that doesn't make sense. But you could. If it were a longer setting, you could see like, all right, this is our gate, put it in neutral and shove it, like, whatever.
And even though like Fury Road is like a refined version of George Miller's vision, you'll still see it in Road Warrior. Like his editing, like the scenes that he wants to take focus of, like when he speeds up things, like because it's you can't actually go like 80 miles per hour and jump on things, right? So he has to speed up everything. So it has like this really like frenetic like feeling to it, like you're in a dream kind of.
I will say though, for me, what, and I know we're shifting gears to the things that didn't work for us.
Uh-huh.
I felt like I got pulled out of it every time he did the thing where he would speed up the camera to make the cars look like they're going faster.
Yeah.
Like something something about it obviously being that like everything just got sped up because everyone's like, like
exactly.
frantic movement. But that combined with the sound still being normal on top of that, it pulled me out of it every time. But I know that they're working with a limited budget in 1981, and it's getting the point across of his vision. But it just, I struggled with it when those bits happened.
No, same. And the other thing that threw me off a little bit, and it's the downside of a thing that works, like the action scenes, as frenetic as they are kind of like intimate shots, as in they're like, you feel like you're in the cab of that truck, like as he's having that fight, right? But that means often there's a very like specific zoomed in fixed point angle at which something happens, and it's very clear that it didn't land like exactly where they wanted him to, but now that thing's broken, so that's the shot we have to use. Like that happened enough times that it felt, it wasn't very polished, right? So but
now,
and I think like the weapons in general were just like very different than like what I was thought about. Like when I remember this movie, I thought there was more guns, but there's like only two guns. There's the pistol, and then there's Max's shotgun. Like,
which is unloaded for like half the movie. Which
and he only finds like 2 shells like in the entire.
He finds like 6, but like it's not a lot.
Dude, Lord Humongous's gun looks like he borrowed it from Danny Glover in Predator 2.
Yes.
It's just the big revolver with a scope.
Yeah, and it comes in like this nice velvet box that has like all of the bullets in there. Just like, and he's like, it's a special occasion. I gotta knock out the block of a semi truck, so it's time to.
I like how before the final battle with before the chase with the semi truck, not only does he go to go for the case again, but like one of his cronies like hands him the bullets, like like he's handing him Excalibur.
Yeah. And the crazy part is like
my bullet holder person.
Well, and that's another thing that, and sort of this, and not to get too into Fury Road, but there's a thing that like you see where he's going, but doesn't quite work. Like that seemed still like weird and artificial here. Whereas like in Fury Road, where you're like, why are they spraying their faces? Is it like a drug? Like, oh no, they're chroming their grill, right? Like the things in Fury Road that are like they make it more clear, like that it's a ceremony type thing, whereas in this it just feels sort of like thrown in there, right? And again, that's just like time and budget, and like this is a relatively short movie. This movie's like 90 minutes, like it's not very long. So
like they have like developed backstories apparently, that they I guess worked with George Miller. Like the actors came up with their own backstories for all the things, but like it's so strange that it's like they're not really unified in the fact that they have like this whole V8 god and all like the whole mythos, and like it's just like this guy, like the gimp that's riding behind me, like he's like like I don't know, it's or like it's just like these weird stories. Like the little kid is just like my backstory is like it's like all the extras met for a day and just like, all right, let's play pretend. What does your character do? And like, okay, that's it.
Yeah, I read up on that a little bit, and I guess so Humongous was supposed to be some former military person.
Yeah.
But that's as far as I got in reading that. And then a lot of his gang are like former town cops.
Yeah. That's why they have like police cruisers and stuff like
that. They're
like
town cops and school bullies who just like we're like, yes, we get to be maniacs.
And I'll say the last thing on things that work, I'll say is like, and it's not till like the end of the movie, but they made the whole thing of both characters were believable and why they were pissed off with the other character with I forget the name, the leader of the settlement, whatever his name is, and Max, where they're like, why are you running away, all this, and like they handle like the PTSD and like Max being called out on his stuff. And Max also slugging the guy for going too far, right? Like that dynamic worked well. Of like everyone in this world has a story like that, but he's been on his own, so it's more like both sides of that worked for me. I think that was that was well done.
So I've got a question for you guys, real quick. That's going to connect to. I think if this works out, it's going to connect to something that I really liked about this movie. pitch me real quick on a show or a spin-off movie coming from the Road Warrior that's not about Max. Go.
I mean, I want to see what the dog does, but like we
Okay.
know what happens to the dog. I don't know,
Yeah.
Red.
I want to say Love Copter with the gyro captain.
Okay, perfect. Because I want to see, and then I thought Feral Kid, the series.
Yeah,
And-
okay.
And my point is,
You know what? I want one more. Just a smash cut of all the people that find the organ grinder thing and all their
Mhm.
terrible deaths. Next person that gets it.
like a cursed object,
Right, exactly.
or you could do Lord Humongous, but it's like The Office.
It's just like there's
Humongous and
always
he's
someone
trying to run
interviewing
his
them.
crew.
Yeah, it's like a breakaway. Just like I don't know why they talk over me. I don't know why they talk over me every time. Trying to announce something, and then I have to chain him up. I have to put him on a leash.
Yep, there we go.
I have to leash him.
Chase him for my car. Call
It's
it.
not a cameraman. It's just a captive that he's slowly eating.
Zeta always talks over me. I have the megaphone, but he freaks out. Yeah, that's the best part. Like Zeta's just like the Zeta feels like the main bad guy. Like he's after
Yes,
Max throughout
yes.
the entire thing. Or I think that's his name, Zeta or whatever.
Oh, you're talking about
Oh, Wes? Hold on. I forget.
It's either Wes or
Wex,
Zeta,
Wex.
one of them.
Wex.
It's Wex.
The guy who pulls
Wex.
the crossbow bolt out of his
Yeah,
arm.
yeah,
and
okay,
puts
Wex,
it- yeah,
okay.
right.
So like
Yeah.
he feels like the main bad guy because he's constantly like after Max and he's like he does the final like jump scare and all that stuff. And like
Yep.
Humongous is just there, just like he's like he has to tie him up, he has to choke him out like half the time, just like
Now I'm picturing Lord Humongous like putting his crossbow bolts in jello and just giving like a knowing look over it.
it's
Yeah.
like he is not like the main bad guy in the sense that just like
Yeah.
he's of course like the leader, but I don't feel like he's the main bad guy.
He's not the counterpoint to Max. Like
No.
the counterpoint to Max is Wes or Wex or
Yeah.
whatever the yeah.
But
Right,
his actual weapon, he doesn't use a bow. He just throws like a pointy like hubcap at people. It's just like
So, but to bring this full circle, the reason why I asked that and what I was hoping was that each of us would have a different person that we'd have picked.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the magical things about this movie, and you already said something about it, about everyone having their own backstory, is you care about all of these ridiculous characters.
yeah.
And like everyone, like from a surface level, they seem one dimensional, but then the more you think about it, you're like, yeah, dude, I'd watch the Feral Kid show.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, yeah, I want to
what
see
happens.
Gyrocopter Adventures.
Yeah.
Like
All right,
every one of
so-
these characters is like you could live with them for a bit.
Yeah. Like every character, I mean, it doesn't get like, you know, the background characters like Crazy Lady who's just like, let's all just surrender, or like
Yep.
or the guy who has herpes on his lip. He's like, did you see my girlfriend on the street? And like, oh man, I gotta say,
We kind of waited till it was just you left to come down and save the day.
like, ooh, hate to break it to you.
Speaking of the women at the cult, you know what their names are in the cast, the characters? There's Warrior Woman and
Mhm.
Big Rebecca.
Who's Big Rebecca?
I don't know. But that's their
I know like the one that goes after the gyrocopter, like I think she's called Lusty Girl or something like that.
Yeah, she's and
So weird, yeah.
Warrior
But
Woman's
here's
the
the
one
thing,
who-
like,
who's
I
on
feel like
yeah, go ahead.
George Romero, like he all of the kind of like the weak female characters in this movie, he fleshes out into like a more
Miller.
like,
You said Romero again.
oh Miller, yeah, Jesus. Yeah, like that he makes it a more like you know, gender balanced or like
Mhm.
actually, you know, focused on that thing. So
Right.
you know, it's
And now he's working on the Furiosa movie. It's a movie, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be like young Furiosa, so it's not going to have Charlize Theron, somebody else playing her.
Oh, okay. Huh.
So it's like the time before Morton Joe.
I'll watch it. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
all of his movies, even Babe, love them all. Okay, so we're running low. We're running low on time. We of course we love this movie. It's like it. I knew it was going to be this type of kind of this podcast because it's just a good movie. But let's talk about stuff that didn't work. Okay, so I gotta say, leaders, man, can't. I don't understand. What you just use gallons. I don't know how many liters is. It's confusing.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. We're the baddies. Like the rest, this movie's from Australia. The rest of the world uses liters.
Just
it's
edit
us.
it, man. Special edition. I want gallons. I don't understand. Is it what? Like a can full of gas? Like half a cup?
So one thing I think didn't work is they needed to pick a lane and stay in it. Of either in this world both gas and diesel exist. Or in this world, there's just one fuel. Because early in the movie, he is stealing fuel from the diesel semi-truck for his V8 Interceptor to move on. And that's when that's when he first interacts with Wex. Okay, in this world, it looks like your car and that big semi-truck take the same kind of fuel.
Right.
But then later, when he goes to get the semi-truck, he tells him, I'm going to need 4 liters of diesel, 4 liters of gasoline. So okay, now there's both.
Yeah,
a minute ago, you were putting that into your car, and now you need both.
Why is it different?
Yeah, I didn't even think of that one. But yeah, and we talked already about the timeline, and the sand still bothers me. I mean, honestly, those are the 2 big ones. But yeah, it's... Just, again, some of the, and this is just, I think, resources, but the execution, I think I'm actually harder on it now that I've seen Fury Road. You can see where he couldn't quite pull off what he wanted to pull off, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think I would have been as critical in 1981.
No.
Though I hadn't been born yet, so that's tricky. But yeah, exactly. So,
I think
I don't know, I'll have to think of other ones.
Another thing that was just and it could just be just kind of like a funny George Miller kind of take on like a lighthearted thing, but when he chains up the copter pilot, he kind of just ties him to a tree, but it's not really keeping him anywhere, right? He's dragging the branch around, but he could just unloop it. It's it's a loop around and he drags the loop, and there's the scene where he's all chained up, but he still has stuff on him. He takes out a big spoon, he has a huge telescope, he's Max is sleeping right next to him, he's chained up. And he takes out all of these items, he has a sandwich holder, a lunchbox, Max chains up, but doesn't take any of his stuff. And just
Yep. I mean, he does eventually take the big spyglass.
I mean, it's a funny scene. It's a funny scene where they're both looking through the. It's not a funny scene, of course, the whole murder rape thing. But when he's taking out his telescope and he's just and then he has his binoculars and they switch. That's an amusing scene, right?
Yep.
But he has it on him. He has all this stuff on him. He probably has a couple snakes on him too that weren't checked.
Oh yeah, dude, he's got a snake pocket for sure.
He's got a snake pocket. He's definitely got a snake pocket.
Man, the unintentional comedy or semi-intentional comedy in this movie was great. The whole bit back and forth with the mechanic about the semi truck.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's a good section, dude.
Yep.
I'm in. I'm with it. I'd watch a show about that mechanic too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
What's his week look like?
He doesn't his legs don't work, so he has a swing that just he has a swing that swings him all across the entire area.
But as a mechanic, but somebody has to push that thing around. There's a guy that just pushes that around it's his giant wheelchair.
Yep.
And being a mechanic is so valuable in this world that it is worth having someone push him around.
Yeah.
And,
yep.
And that's the thing that doesn't work. That works, and I can see what he's trying to do. Again, it's an execution thing where the mechanic's on the tanker, and it's the same character, right? Where his legs are on fire, and he's never mind, I'm fine. It keeps going back and forth. Is this dramatic or is this funny? It seemed to not choose a lane. It's he can't feel his legs. We get it, but he's still on fire. But actually, there's tension, and then it looks like he stands up at one point. I don't know if yeah. Yep. It was a weird scene. It just wasn't executed well. I get what they were trying to do, but they didn't do it.
One part of the story that didn't work for me was when Max leaves, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't want to be there, like he's on his own and whatnot, and so he like decides to just drive out and whatnot, and that's fine. That's like builds up his character as like a person who's like a wastelander soloist,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But then he gets chased down, right, by
Mhm.
Rex. Yeah, is his name Rex?
Wex.
Wex. I
Wex.
think, yeah.
Okay, Wex is of course super furious at him because he got
Mhm.
arrowed in the beginning, right? So like he's getting chased and like whatnot, and Rex hits his car with a muffler, and that causes his car to explode.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's what
Yep.
stops him. Like this like
Yep.
giant V8 interceptor that has like like
Yep.
armor all over it, and just like it was used to like flip over other cars. Like Rex swings a muffler at it and it blows it up.
Yep. Yeah, that threw me. I mean, the way you're right. It struck me as weird too. But like, hits it in the windshield, and I think it's supposed to be like he loses control. But yeah, it like insta flips over. It's
Like
weird.
he's
It's super
experienced though. It's like it's not like
Yeah.
his first rodeo,
Yeah.
like where his windshield gets broken, but like he flips his car over just because like he gets a little hit.
Yeah. Honestly, so my big hang up is from the same area of the movie and the same kind of plot point of when he leaves.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
But here's the thing. Okay, so you have just gotten them the semi truck. They have given you like your car. They have filled you up with your like 700-gallon tank that like hangs off the back of your car.
Right.
Oh wait, no, that's in the later movies. He has the giant gas tank.
There's
He
still,
has
there's
he has the two barrels on this one.
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay. So I guess it's still like that's like 100 gallons, 50-gallon drums.
Yeah.
Anyway, so at this point, he decides, okay, I'm going to leave. We have fair exchange. Fine. He has the argument with the guy. Whatever. He's gonna leave.
Yeah.
This is when the other guys have been surrounded them and had like their dance party in the rain, right? Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
like Humongous
Yep.
and his crew are just like chilling outside.
Yeah.
And he's gonna just like zoom by them, right?
Yeah.
He knows that what they're asking him to do is to go with them on their 2,000-mile journey when they leave with the tanker truck and like try to like spread out and split out the enemy forces and all of that in like 48 hours.
Yeah.
Why don't you go then? Like, okay, we're all going to leave at the same time, but I'm going to go my separate way so
Yeah.
I don't die.
Yep.
Why did he leave right now to go get chased by the whole group?
Yeah, exactly.
Because even if he was trying to be self-sacrificing, like they weren't ready to go yet, man. They'll kill you and come back and wait again.
Right. That's the thing. We all leave at the same time. We will all fight it out of here for the first couple of miles, and then I am.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like you're still doing the same thing, only like
Right.
5 hours later. Like there's no difference.
And not alone.
Exactly.
Right.
Well,
Yep.
there's also another part of that scene. I literally think this was probably like a rewrite, and they had to just kind of like move things along. But like, so they tip over his car, right? And they like, like they send over Toady and like the other weirdo to go
Mhm.
check. And so, of course, the kill switch like flips and they blow up right after they try to drain his gasoline or his guzzling.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then Wax is just like, okay, I'm done. Let's go. Like they don't check for anything. They're just like, all right, let's
Yep.
leave.
Yep. Kill his dog.
There's like,
It's
mhm.
fine.
Well, I mean, the same thing happens when the tanker flips over. They're like, "Oh man, it looks like is that sand spilled on the thing?
Yeah, exactly. There's like,
Yeah.
Let's go home, man. Let's go."
it's just like,
Yeah,
oh, dude,
yeah.
Humongous is dead. I don't know, man.
Like,
Who's gonna tell us what to do?
I mean, let's not check if this Max guy's dead because we're not mad at him or anything, and
No.
let's not go check if any of our guys are still alive from all their crashed cars. Let's just leave. Let's just slowly leave right now, like someone turned us off like a little robot, and we're going back to our Roomba base to charge.
And they don't chase after so like the little like gyrocopter guy, like he rolls up and he's like, hey, you need a ride? And then just like
Yep.
they go and find the caravan again, and the Raiders they don't follow. They're just like, all right, whatever, dude. They won this
Okay.
one. Chalk it up.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Should we
Yeah,
should
let's
we
talk
do
about
morals?
what we learned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll start. What I learned, and this is going to surprise neither of you, and maybe not any listeners if they've been paying attention to my movie habit things. You either love your dog or you don't, right? And there are several times in this movie where Max acts to protect him, a little slow on the go, whatever. Cherish your animals. Don't let it take a crossbow bolt for you that you'll then not need anyway because they leave afterward. You need to be devoted to your animal companion. Do like me. Leave the dog in the village while you go out and do your thing. Let the dog have a happy life or something. I left dog meat in Megaton for all of Fallout 3, and he was safe and warm and happy. A dog that didn't get shot with a crossbow. Love your dog. Don't put them in front of crossbow bolts.
Good point. Well done.
Thank you.
Okay, so I think this whole thing is a metaphor, right? I think it's just a metaphor for like just the grind. Okay, so everyone's chasing after gasoline, right? That's like the main thing everybody wants. Why? So that they can power their giant 8-liter V8 cars to do what? To gather more gasoline.
Yes.
All right, you can just cut out the middleman. All right, no more flamethrowers. All right, no more giant semi trucks. All right, that take 1 mile to a gallon. All right, go electric.
You talk about
No,
Prius
man.
Wasteland?
Take a bike.
No, man. You do that, you lose the Sigma 365 24/7 grind set, man.
Break away from the
You
site.
get complacent. Then you're like a normie. You're not even in the post boomy boom times. It doesn't work.
Oh, well, what I learned from this movie is that I don't think I want to go to Australia anymore. The place doesn't seem right, man.
Do we think this cost Australia tourism? Like, we're Australia, we're not like that.
They don't have the internet there.
Like, what did this do to Australia tourism? I mean, I'm sure consumer goods purchase of Australian-made products went up, but maybe visiting tourism went down, maybe?
When did this? How much did this overlap with Crocodile Dundee? I feel like that's going to have an impact.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure like a lot of this is just like actual people in like the outback, like Bogans are exactly like this. Maybe they don't have like sports gear, but they are using snakes as security systems.
It's like that episode of Futurama with LA. It's like, but it was a post-apocalyptic wasteland and roaming gangs of kids everywhere. Man, this guy will stop with the social commentary.
Shooting kangaroos with arrows. I guarantee you that happens. Like it's.
Also, a real side note, I would love it if there's a final movie in this series where they reveal that the rest of the world was just fine. It's just Australia.
Yeah, just like, what is wrong with this place?
And
like you had one financial crisis.
Like people learn in the history books about like the collapse of Australia.
Yeah.
There's just like
everywhere else is fine.
There's just like a Coast Guard cutter off like, we have food. Stop this.
Australian Gandalf in his post thing, he's just like, yeah, we made it to the coast. It was totally normal here. So, they just drove out of the county.
It wasn't even all of Australia. It was just one county.
Yeah, it was just that one area.
All
right, let's give it a review. I gotta say, great movie. I give it 9 toes out of 10.
Yeah. I'm gonna give it 8.5 cans of half-eaten dog food out of 10.
I'm gonna give it a 4.5 out of 5 organic mechanics.
And with that, we'll call it a night. Come on, say it. Say that's dinner for Wolf.
And that's dinner for Wolf.
All right. Good pod.